Metro TV, insightful and inspiring moments.
Now we're crossing to Nigeria, where we're told the popular Nigerian televangelist Prophet T.B. Joshua spent his last days in the service of God and left behind a legacy of service and sacrifice to God's kingdom, according to an official statement from his church. Timotope Bolabon Joshua died on Saturday evening at 8:57, a week to his 58th birthday.
Popular Nigerian televangelist T.B. Joshua spent his last days in the service of God and left behind a legacy of service and sacrifice to God's kingdom, according to an official statement from his church. Temitope Balungon Joshua died on Saturday evening at age 57, a week to his 58th birthday on June 12.
June 12 is around the corner. As you know, I'm a man of people. So, the wound of one is the wound of all. As things stand, you may have realized it will not be easy for me to celebrate my birthday under the present circumstances. Some of the people who want to come are troubled by the situation all over the world.
Late former President John Atta Mills had a close relationship with the late T.B. Joshua in January 2009 whilst attending a service at T.B. Joshua's Synagogue Church of All Nations in Egbe, a suburb of Lagos, advised African leaders to desist from trampling on the wishes of the electorate.
There is strength in sharing views and ideas with like-minded people. My brothers and sisters, we are all the same children of God. Let's help one another. Let's hold each other's hands. And whatever happens to us, let's give praise to the Almighty God.
According to The Cable, a Nigerian online news portal, 57-year-old Temitope Balungon Joshua was flown to Turkey to undergo a treatment after he suffered a stroke 2 months ago. The church, in its statement via the official social media handles, said God has taken his servant Prophet T.B. Joshua home as it should be by divine will. Prophet T.B. Joshua leaves a legacy of service and sacrifice to God's kingdom, that is, living for generations yet unborn. T.B. Joshua's ministry is globally recognized through his television platform, Emmanuel TV, run by the church, as one of Nigeria's biggest Christian broadcast stations, available worldwide on digital and terrestrial switches.
Still staying with the story, joining us now from Nigeria via Zoom to look into this particular legacy of the late Prophet T.B. Joshua is Dele Momodu, a journalist, publisher, and businessman who is also the chairman of the Ovation Media Group, to help us discuss this. Good evening, Chief, and welcome to Metro News. Hello, Chief. Okay, we're getting to Nigeria.
Good evening, Ghana.
Thank you so much for your time, Chief.
Good evening, Ghana.
Thank you very much, Chief. Chief, let us understand how, you get to receive this news of the passing of Prophet T.B. Joshua.
Well, I think it was around after 1 8 night that I got a frantic call from a Nigerian publisher, a former presidential candidate, Omayele Showore. I was asleep. So, since his missed call maybe 4:30 a.m., then I called him and he said, he had picked up information that Prophet T.B. Joshua has passed on. And he was trying to confirm with me if it was true, because of my closeness to the man of God. So I immediately started working the phones. I was calling all my contacts. I called Prophet T.B. Joshua's direct line. It rang out, nobody picked it. Then I sent a message on his WhatsApp. It delivered, still no response, which was unusual, because I know that Prophet T.B. Joshua, he worked day and night. He was a man who really overworked himself in the service of God and humanity. So then I started calling some important contacts. And the first one told me this person was in Germany, that it seems it is true. Then I called another contact in South Africa who was almost in tears, and the same person said it was true. So what do? I was afraid to go to town without being absolutely sure. But after a while, I spoke to a friend who had traveled with us to Nazareth 2 years ago with the prophet. We were in Israel together. And this source confirmed to me and gave me the blow-by-blow account of what happened yesterday evening. And so that was how I went to town, and I released a message and our pictures together. And since then, we've had no rest in Nigeria. Then I went also on Twitter. I saw that it was actually trending in America. I couldn't believe it, that Prophet T.B. Joshua was #1. It was trending in America. And so that was it. It's been a very bad day for Nigeria, a very sad day for Africa and the world.
I perfectly understand how you're feeling at this time. But in fact, his last broadcast, he actually sang a song that, will you be ready, will you be ready, will you be ready when the Lord shall come? Do you think he foresaw the death of his death coming?
Obviously, he must have had a premonition, because I was told he came down, he went to join the Emmanuel TV partners. He was dressed in black, and he didn't stay long. He just said, there's a time to come and there's a time to leave. So I believe he departed at the appointed time. And may God receive his soul, and may his soul rest in peace.
May his soul rest in peace. You have that close relationship with him, but it's a sad moment, but what would you say is your fondest memory with him?
There are so many. I don't know which ones or how much time we've got on this program, but I will try to summarize. My first encounter with him was about 2 decades ago, when he sent a journalist friend of mine, Chief to reach out to me that I would like to feature on the cover of Ovation. I'd heard about him prior to that time, but I'd never met him. So he went to the Synagogue of Nations, and he said he would love to be interviewed by Ovation. So we set to work. We agreed on the fees. He ordered 5,000 copies in advance, paid in full. And then we printed the magazine in London, brought the magazine to Nigeria. So the 5,000 he ordered. So I called him and I said, it was ready. So he sent copies over for him. And when I got there, he was excited. So I asked him, when are we to deliver the rest of the copies? Over 4,900 and something copies. And he said, oh, go and sell it and use the money. I couldn't believe it. A man paid for 5,000 copies of a magazine, and he took only 10 copies, and he said I should go and sell the rest and keep the money. I couldn't believe it. Then he called me a few days later. I said I should come. Then I went there again. He said, oh, there is trouble. I said, what's the problem? He said, my wife is not happy. Why? Is there anything you know that? She said, no. The madam said, how can I feature you alone on your cover? That her own picture is not there. And he told the wife that but you don't like publicity. If you know the wife, perfect, gentle lady, you know. And the wife told him that, oh, Ovation is different. Ovation, I won't mind to feature in Ovation. The other papers you can do, your own, but as for Ovation, I want. So we had to do another cover the following month. The first time we have annuality back to back on the cover of Ovation. And that was how our relationship started. Fast forward, many years later, we would do other things with him. I remember some years back, maybe about 5-6 years ago, I had cataract in both eyes, and I had to go for surgery in England. So I had successfully done the operations, and one night, in the middle of the night, I saw an unknown number calling me frantically. Who could this be in the middle of the night? Then when I picked it, it turned out to be Prophet T.B. Joshua. And he said, he calls me Alagba. Alagba is like my big brother. I'm older than him by about 4 years. So he said, Alagba, where are you? I said, I'm in London. He said, I heard you have problems with your eyes. I said, yes, sir. He said, so how is it now? I said, I've done the surgery and it was successful. He said, okay, fine, good. God will always be with you. We all love you. We love what you are doing. He said, but I would like to pay for the surgery. I said, I've already paid. He said, no, I should send him my accounts that he would love to pay. And then that was how he forced me to send the bill to him, and he paid. That's what Prophet T.B. Joshua for you. Then 2 years ago again, I got a call from him one day. He said, Chief, I'm doing a crusade in Israel. Yes.
Hello. Yeah, yes. I can tell you can go on and on and on, like you said earlier on, from the back of the. I said we can go on and on. But quickly yes. Tell us, what would you say is a legacy he's left behind?
It's a legacy of love, of generosity, of godliness. He was a very simple man. He gave to the poor. He will carry, heavy load of rice on his head, and he will be distributed to the poor in his neighborhood. And he touched lives everywhere, including Ghana. I remember the encounter with the former president of Ghana, Jonathan Mills. That's another story for another day. I mean, that was the man. He touched people, poor, the old, the young, the rich, everybody. He touched everybody. So many presidents were at his beck and call, and I believe he lived a very glorious life, and he departed gloriously.
Okay, now tell us, with his passing, what does the leadership of the Synagogue Church look like? Who takes over from him?
Well, I've been saying all day that I see a lot of similarities between him and the late Bishop Benson Idahosa, who also passed on before he was 60, and his wife took over. I believe that Prophet T.B. Joshua's wife will take over. She's very formidable, very, very much like him. She never saw herself as a first lady in good freely with the ordinary, the church, and they love her. And I saw her in action when we were in Israel. I mean, so she was laying her hands on heads. I mean, she's a very strong woman in faith, and I believe she will be able to lead the church formidably. She's very well prepared for that.
Okay, we are most grateful for your time, Chief Modolo, for joining us to speak on this Prophet T.B. Joshua story. So that was Chairman of the Ovation Media Group, Chief Dele Momodu.
Metro TV, insightful and inspiring moments.